I greatly appreciate the courtesy of the ranking member. I have to get to a financial services markup, and so I'm on roller skates today. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for organizing this hearing. And thank our witnesses. I had the great privilege of serving as the United States ambassador in Western Europe under Ambassador Burns. And Ms. Connolly, I would like to associate myself with your opening statement greatly. Although we work closely with partners in the EU bloc, our goals are not always in step. We have historically relied on the United Kingdom to bridge gaps between the United States and EU countries. Ms. Connolly, how will the UK's departure from the EU affect EU policies in areas of interest to the United States, such as sanctions and trade and regulatory policies?
Thank you so much for that question. It will, the European Union will be greatly reduced should the United Kingdom depart the EU, and on an almost daily, hourly basis, this story is in constant change. So, but all things being equal, the United Kingdom provides for the European Union a very export-oriented, very market economy-driven. It's driving the European Union on foreign and security policy, and this will be a great loss to the European Union when the United Kingdom leaves. If anything, we focus too much on the ins and outs of this extraordinary Brexit debate, but we haven't focused enough in thinking about how much the EU will diminish, and in some ways how much the United Kingdom will diminish from being out of the European Union. This is why we're seeing in the EU the creation of what they're calling the Hanseatic League, which is Northern European economies that are trying to, in some ways, fill the space that the UK will leave in being market-driven, export-driven, much different from the Southern European.
There will definitely be a void. Ms. Wormuth, many of our European partners share the United States' concerns regarding Russia's non-compliance with the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, or INF. The United States has since withdrawn from the INF with NATO support. I understand these recent developments worry some European stakeholders who fear resurgent U.S.-Russian competition will destabilize Europe. What is the future of arms control in Europe, and what role can European countries play in pressuring Russia's back into compliance?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. I think I'm very concerned about the future of the arms control regime in the wake of the decision to withdraw from INF, primarily because I'm concerned about what it means for whether we extend the New START agreement in 2021, which I think is very much in the interests of the United States, despite the fact that we are in a very low period with the Russians. So figuring out how to extend that agreement, which is in our interest, I think is item number one on that agenda. I think we need to continue to have our European allies and partners put pressure on Russia to work with us to extend that agreement and to call out their bad behavior as they have in many instances. I do think that part of having a credible deterrent is showing a unified front. And I would have liked to, I think the way the United States withdrew from INF did not shore up that unity inside of the alliance. So going forward, we need to coordinate so that we show a unified front.
Thank you, Ms. Wormuth. Ambassador Burns, during the Cold War, our alliances with European countries helped the United States maintain a durable balance of power vis-a-vis the Soviet Union, preventing catastrophic conflict, frankly, between the great powers. Today, we are seeing China step into the balance, or into the place, I should say, that the Soviet Union once occupied. What role will Europe play in countering the rise of China?
I think, as Heather Connolly said, the Europeans seem to be disorganized and not united on how to respond to China. A great deal of divisiveness as the Chinese seek inroads. The Chinese are running and own the port of Piraeus,
yes,
biggest port in the Eastern Med, significant investments in the Balkans, now in Italy. So the European Union needs to organize itself, needs to develop a common policy, because this is a major threat. And they understand that the military advantage that the United States has had since the Second World War will be at risk if in AI, machine learning, quantum computing, biotechnology, our government does not have the ability to keep up with the Chinese in the technological arms race. Europe's got to be part of that. Their labs, their tech companies, their research universities have to be with us and united in that. So I think that on a NATO basis, China has become an issue. And in Ambassador Lutz's report that I did with him, that's one of our recommendations. We have to think about China as a threat. General, I would close on this, Congresswoman. General Milley said this morning, when he testified up here on the Hill, that he felt that Russia was still the great existential threat. I think we're facing two big authoritarian threats in Europe.
I agree. Mr. Chair, my time has expired. Again, I thank the ranking member for his courtesy.